Hey everyone, and welcome back to the English for the Workplace online course. In this video, we're going to be going over Module 3, which talks about the first day on the job. Before I start, I want to talk a little bit, or rather give a brief overview of what we talked about in the previous video, which was Module 2. Please go check it out if you haven't, because this is a continuation of Module 2. So in Module 2, we talked about jobs and the different forms of employment, as well as what to look for in a job advertisement for your needs and for the company's needs as well. Then we talked about some of the more common do's and don'ts in a job interview and some common mistakes that people usually do when they go into a job interview. Okay, so now that we got that out of the way, now let's go to module number 3, which is going to be the first day on the job. Right here. Okay, so first day on the job, here we have some of the components and the things that we're going to be going through in today's video. We're going to be talking about the details and procedures, things that you should be doing on your first day on the job. Then we have the company or institution's vision, mission, and core values, and there is a difference between the three of them, and I'll explain it a little later in this video. And after that, we have the organization chart. I will talk more about this in detail once we get to it. And finally, we have something called the employee's handbook. All right, so let's start with first day on the job. So you've gotten through the job hunting phase and you've done your interviews and everything's good. Now it's time to actually go into work. See, your first day can be very exciting, but it can also be very stressful because, it's something new. You're not used to it yet. You have to get used to, a new company's rules, regulations, all of that stuff, as well as getting to meet your new workers and setting everything up. So first day is usually going to be pretty simple, but you need to make a good first impression. It's the day in which you're going to be meeting your new coworkers, the people that you're going to be working with, as well as setting up your new office space, whether that's a cubicle, that's your own office. That totally depends on the position that you chose to work at. Again, as well as learning your institution or company's rules and just the general culture of how everything moves. Think of your first day as the foundation of how you're going to be doing your work. So make sure that you are on your best behavior and make sure that you give a great first impression. Speaking of first impressions, you guys remember when we talked about how it's very important to make sure you make a good first impression, even during interviews. We talked about how you can't, run away from a bad first impression. Like you can't ever get that back. So it's very important to be on your best behavior and avoid some of the following things on your first day at work. So we have don't dress unprofessionally, and this one is actually in common. A lot of these are in common with the job interview. So you want to make sure that you dress professionally and you dress good. So if you dress good, you look great, but it's not really in the setting or a job setting, then you're going to look awkward, and that is not something that you want. Don't show up late. You guys remember when we talked about punctuality and how being punctual on time is something great to have. It's a great trait to have as a person, as an employee, and it shows people, especially your higher ups, whether that's a supervisor or your boss, that you do actually care about their time. So never show up late. Make sure you show up on time. Also, on that note, don't be too early. I know a lot of people are like, they think that, hey, if I shouldn't show up late, then if I show early or I show up early, I get extra points. Well, it doesn't really work like that. You want to show up on time or a few minutes early, but that's really about it. Like, you can't show an hour early or 2 hours early and expect to gain more points. It just comes off weird. Okay? And then we have don't blow off orientation. People might have different beliefs than you. People might have different thinking processes. It's not really the same, just like politics, for example, things like that. So just make sure that you at least respect other people's opinions, especially when you're the new guy at an office or at a job. Don't be afraid to ask for help. On a similar note, it's your first day. Make sure that you take advantage of the fact that people are willing to help you and teach you about the culture and how to do your job. So don't be afraid to ask your coworkers or higher ups for help whenever needed. Don't complain about your former boss or coworkers. This is very important. Don't engage in gossip. Don't talk about how your former boss was a bad person or that he did this and that, as well as don't complain about your previous coworkers and talk behind their back to your new coworkers. That just doesn't give off a good vibe. So make sure you just don't engage in any of that. Make sure you don't talk about your former boss or coworkers. Don't ignore coworkers' offers of help. Like I said, it's going to be your first day. You're going to be getting a lot of offers to help. You don't have to accept each and every one of them, but you do have to accept some and not ignore all of it, because this gives off the vibe that you're actually willing to learn and accept help to be a better person and do your job better. Okay? Don't turn down a lunch invitation. This one is more of a traditional way of getting to know your coworkers a little bit better, the people that you're going to be spending a lot of time with in the future. So yeah, if you can go to a lunch invitation, then that would be great for your, like socially at your workplace. Don't get caught up in office gossip. We already briefly mentioned this. You do not want to engage in gossip at all. It may come back later and bite you, and you don't want that. And finally, this one's a no-brainer. Don't yawn. For you, yawning might be something that's harmless, but to other people, it gives off the impression that you're bored, that you don't want to be here, that you'd rather be doing anything else, even sleeping, than listen to what the person that is talking has to say.